So I might still get invited to speak on business, but when I do, I'm going to integrate an element of humanity into it because that's how I think. And more importantly, that's what I'm really here to do, is help people bring the best out of themselves and their ideas to serve themselves, to help others, but also
I love that
live
answer. I love
fulfilling
that
life.
answer. And that sheds more light on the fact that you don't have to abandon the things that you've done or the skills that you've honed or used or where you've worked in the past, and all of that
Not
stuff
at
can be
all.
super relatable into what you continue to harvest out of your life and what you present to the world. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Modern Day Unicorns. Today, I have a special guest. He's actually family, and he has been a wonderful influence on my life, even lately, as of late. I took an amazing course and experience with him, but I'll let him share more about that in a moment. We have Kevin BJ Jennings with us today. Thank you so much for coming on with us, BJ.
You know it, cuz. Let's do it.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I know a little bit more about you, but let's break this down for our listeners and our viewers today. So can you tell us, you can repeat your name again, where you're from, and what you do currently?
Yes. So Kevin B. Jennings, based in Nashville, Tennessee, and I've been here most of my life. And I operate right now as a business coach and personal brand strategist. I help ambitious creatives and leaders get unstuck, primarily with the clarity, the credibility, and often the courage that they need to turn their ideas into income and impact.
Now, see, what I love about that is he was able to tell us what he did. And through the intensive that I was able to participate in with BJ, he helped me gather the words and the insight and the narrative to be able to explain to people what it is that I do. And I really appreciate that. So the question I'm going to ask first is, how did you get here? How did you start to become a brand strategist and a coach?
Yeah, well, so there is twofold, all right? So one is mission driven and one is fear driven. All right. So I'll talk about the mission part first. And that is just, I'm naturally an evangelist. I enjoy sharing things that are serving me and helping me with other people. And so that leads itself naturally to be I would say me being a natural marketer or salesperson. I like to talk about things I believe in. And that could be something as simple as, a Nipsey Hussle album or as profound as my love for marketing technology. I'm a big HubSpot guy, right? And something like that. So it just really is about me sharing what I love and what I appreciate, and then helping others connect with things that they appreciate. I also love people, and when I see someone's potential and then what they can do to help other people, I want them to be able to do what they love to do, helping other people. And I found out that is essentially what marketing is. It is helping someone else understand and access the value of something else, right? So when I'm promoting Abby and her services, I'm just letting them understand the value that Abby has for them. But if I'm not willing to communicate that value, they can't understand or discover it. And so that's a big part of what I love doing. The fear side of it is I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a songwriter and producer in high school. And I felt, people told me, well, music, it's hard to get it there. It's hard to make money. So I started thinking, well, what do I do? And the more I studied the industry, the more I understood that it's about persuading a few gatekeepers, right? The record labels to buy the music that you're selling so that their artists can use it. And I thought to myself, well, that was right when, if you're in hip hop and R&B, you would hear Timbaland say something at the beginning of the song, or you hear, Rodney Jerkins say "Dark Child" at the beginning of the song. And, so these guys are essentially letting people who are consumers of music know who's creating it, so that people want more of the music created by that person, aka a personal brand, right? They were using, an audio logo to help people discover, like, oh, all my favorite songs are by Timbaland. All my favorite songs are by Dark Child. And I was like, okay, that's how you get in front of the consumers. Make music and then just tell the consumers who's making it so that the consumers can connect that dot and want more music from that person. But I was really afraid of failing. I was afraid of failing. And I was like, okay, I'm afraid of failing. So I'm going to take things into my own hands foolishly. And I will just learn the gift of marketing to make sure that I can get my music to people without the middleman. So it's a bit of independence, but also I think it was a fear of failure. And I'll be very transparent. I was just very scared of not being successful and not doing what I wanted to do. So I tried to figure out a way, and I said, "Oh, marketing is a way to get to the people, and without rejection from a middleman. Let me see if I can pull that off." And then I started to step into that further. And then in 2010, long answer, but in 2010, I discovered I wanted to be a writer and speaker, and it scared me. And I thought to myself, well, if I want to be a writer and speaker, I should learn how to make money being a writer and speaker so I can build a profession around this. So I started learning marketing, how to market authors and speakers. And that led me to becoming really good at it. And nationwide, I was working for Dave Ramsey, and then Tony Robbins, and then Oprah Winfrey on some projects. And I'm saying to myself, you're marketing people at the highest level, but you're not yet writing or speaking. What are you doing? And that's when I kind of came over the last 2 years. Okay, all right. I'm grateful for these skills and abilities, but I don't want that to also dim me from living on my fullest purpose, which is also writing and speaking. And so now I'm doing my part to recognize that tension and say, leverage these gifts and abilities, but also invest in yourself as well.
Now, when you say that, I feel like we do have many things in common when it comes down to it. And I'm sure that you can relate with all of our listeners and viewers as well. The concept of deconstructing something that you're interested in and understanding the crux of the matter behind it kind of does, I'm not sure exactly what it does to you by trying to understand it better, but then using those skills and that knowledge that you have for somebody else. I don't know how I can necessarily explain it, but what do you think that is when it comes down to, like, because I do the same things like, if I, want to be an editor or something like that, and I'm learning all these editing things, but I'm editing for other people and I'm not editing for myself. What is that concept? Is it still fear? Is it the concept of I need to earn an income? Like, how do you strike and find that balance between when you have acquired or you're acquiring a skill that you can use for yourself, and yet you use it to promote and to elevate other industries, people, and businesses?
Yeah, it's twofold. I would probably say, so I'll talk about the litmus. Like, how do you know when you've gone from trying to be proficient to trying to be perfect and now you're hiding? But I think the first thing I'd say is, can you do a quick Google search to understand the core skills you need to learn? Right? So here's what I mean by that. Go to me, want to be a writer and speaker. What do writers and speakers do? Write and speak. So the idea of me saying, I want to be a writer and speaker, so let me learn how to do marketing, promoting, writing and speakers, that's foolish. I mean, if I'm being very transparent, like that is a very foolish mindset. It's like, what do you mean? I didn't spend 10 years learning how to be a better writer or 10 years learning how to be a better speaker. I spent 10 years learning how to promote writers and speakers. And that is not the core skill, because now that I want to write and speak, I still have to go back and learn how to be a writer and speaker. So to me, the litmus test is, are you learning the skills that are required to do the job, or are you learning skills that allow you to try to be perfect and avoid any risk, right? I was trying to mitigate risk, not build my actual skills. So I think that's why I would say fear was driven there. And I would say this, you have to almost predefine your definition of done. And here's what I mean by that. If you really care about what you're trying to do, and it's a really significant dream for you, you are going to likely move the goalpost on yourself, right? You first said, I got to know how to do this. Well, I learned there's a new thing. I got to have this. Oh, and I got to buy that. And you keep moving the goalpost. So you might have to sit now. So if that's your struggle of perfectionism, then you might have to actually predefine what finished looks like. Okay, I have to do this, this, and this. You say on the front end what is essential, because there's always more you can do. What is essential? And then define that and then put that on paper so that when you have that moment, when you think about the other 5 things you could be doing to quote unquote be perfect or be ready, you can keep yourself in check and say, that's not what you need. That's not what you need to do. That's not what you have to do. I don't have to have, 3 cameras to launch my YouTube channel. I need 1, but I need multiple angles. You don't know. See, no. You want multiple angles. You don't need. So some of you almost define on paper so you can just keep yourself in check. Because I will move the goalpost on myself if I'm not careful. But I think it's a fine line. I think some of us, you know why? Because we're trying to avoid failure. We're trying to take away every potential risk. Well, people are going to be bored with 1 camera angle, so I got to get 3. So, because otherwise my channel won't grow. Like, you keep just inventing a new thing, and you got to say, "Oh, I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid," and that's okay to be afraid. But I think if we can own it, then we can say to ourselves, "Okay, what is essential to do the job?" And now I can separate that from what I want to do in the future. I can still make a list of future enhancements, but I can't let that be what stops me from starting. And there are some projects I'm really great at that at, and there are projects that I've had to essentially kick myself over the goalpost to start sooner because I will hold on for it forever. Does that make sense, Abby?
No, it absolutely makes sense. And I feel like one of the hurdles that people come across is the fact that they have so many things to look at and to compare themselves with. And so when you go on YouTube or you enter into a course and you're looking at all of this finished product that is quote unquote better or more polished than what you feel like you can produce, then that is the comparison part of the things that we do is what hold us back to be just like, well, I'm not like Peter McKinnon, or I'm not like, this influencer or that influencer, but we also don't know the journey that they took to get to that particular side, or we don't necessarily research their very, very first video to realize it's just as trash as what we feel like we're putting out.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and even that, I think that's another thing. That's something else. I love serving people, right? So when I'm with Abby, I'm locked in on helping Abby. The tension, though, is when I'm not with Abby, I can get myself worked up on not even comparing myself, just like I'm not good at the other person. It's more of I'm not doing the level I want to. Look at that person doing at a higher quality. That's the quality I aspire to. And I tell myself that my quality is to be greater, to be helpful. And it's a lie. Like, you can have highest quality, whatever, and it's still gonna be helpful. And so I think that's a big part of it. And what ends up happening is so I start thinking about doing it right when I'm not, at first it's doing it in a way that is helpful immediately. And I think so I have to balance that out. So on social media, for example, you can have 20 followers. If you decide to DM all of them once a week and just say, how's it going? What challenge are you facing? How can I be helping you? You'll probably grow your following. And that focus on the 20 can actually take your mind off of what everybody else is doing, right? One of the experiments I'm planning on running this year is I'm creating a burner account a private burner account that pretty much follows all of my followers. Because I almost need a place to go just to observe my followers' lives so I can see how they're doing. And I can go DM them on my own account later, but I just want a way to passively keep up. But I'm trying to, the attention obviously is algorithms, right? If I follow all my followers, my algorithm is all weird, and my explore page is a little odd. That's why I'm doing it, by the way. I'd be creepy. But the point of it is, I'm almost trying to flip my mindset to just being obsessed about the people that I've been entrusted with already versus me thinking about the people who I want to go get. And I think that I almost have to build some systems around me to keep myself in that mindset, right? And I think if my feed was full of the people I'm actually serving versus people I'm quote unquote competing with, would I even notice that? Like if my primary day-to-day feed, when I go to I plan on spending more time in that account, right? The my actual community of people and what they're going through and looking at their lives as opposed to my competition or the other person doing what I'm doing online, it won't matter. I really won't, because I'm not as privy to what everybody else is doing. And I think it's another strategy for those who are, struggling with that reality.
Well, with all the things that I've been, observing or participating in, the thing that continues to come up is value and the value that you're bringing. And as I have reflected over that time and time again, because I do feel like we get caught up in looking at people who are already at a level that we aspire to be in, that we forget that what we are actually aspiring to do is to bring value to those individuals, to those followers. And so I feel like a time where I was most effective was when I was teaching and I was, the head of our department, and they would have questions, and I was able to answer their questions and send them examples and bring value to them without the glitz and the glamour and the compare. I answered the question. I was able to, help the pain point, or you manage the confusion when it came down to it. And there was less pressure on me just answering their question. And so I feel like that's an approach I'm trying to take these days, where when I run across a question or where I figure something out on myself, and I was like, if these are questions that I'm searching for, there has to be somebody else that is. And it's not necessarily bringing my production value down, but just getting it out there and then improving it later on if I must. But I feel like it's my turnaround time where I don't psych I was speaking to somebody earlier. I literally have a course already thought out, and I have not done anything towards it because of what I think I want to do with it. But literally, if I just like this conversation, if I just press record and I put it out there, it's done. So I really like that point to where it's just like measure out what is done to you and then just go.
Yes. So I'm a learner, you're a learner, right? We both like to geek out, and I think that's a part of it too, right? Is the more you learn, you kind of strip yourself of that blissful ignorance phase, right? So the person, I used to make hip hop beats and R&B songs and pop songs, and I listened to songs I created before I knew more about how to produce music. And it wasn't about the song being better or worse. Of course, they, obviously I'm hard on myself, I'd say they're worse, right? But there was something about the way you created when you didn't know what you should be doing. And so I tell people all the time, you almost want to get that out of you, because the more you know, you're like, well, that's not what we do. Who's we? The industry. Who's the industry? My competitors, my people, my peers. Got it. So now you're almost like doing things to take away your unique voice that actually at the same time make you feel even more insecure about what you're doing, because now you're doing what everybody's doing. And so there is this beauty of just jumping in and getting it out of you as fast as you can, because of what happens on the other side of it. And this is where this is a big part I tell people all the time, but it's been convicting me as well. What happened if we view what we do as medicine? View what we do as medicine, right? Would you say, I'm sorry, BJ, you have a headache. I can't help you because I don't have
the proper lighting,
my name brand ibuprofen. I don't have my name brand ibuprofen. I've only got the off brand, and I'm not going to give you this thing for your headache until I go get the best ibuprofen you can have. You say, hey, just take 3 of these. You would give me what you have to help me and meet me where I am as best as you could. And I think that many times when we're holding off on that course or that thing inside of us, someone's still suffering as a result of our perfectionism. And so that's been helping me a lot to try to push myself to say, I have some value to give somebody right now. Am I going to give them no value just because I can't give to them in the way I know I can in the future? And the answer should be no.
I want to pivot a little bit. And speak, of course, more about you. In this pivot, where I would like you to discuss how you were able to tell yourself, yes, I'm great at marketing because I've done what I need to do with marketing. how did you decide to say, all right, I'm giving writing and speaking, whatever percentage it is for you, whether it be 100%, 95, 76, how have you been able to adjust your thought process or your work in progress to say, I'm devoting more time and energy towards what I want to do and not just what I'm good at? Because I feel like a lot of people get stuck between their peers or what they're encouraged to do because it's something that they're good at or something that they recognize that they're good at, but they are ignoring or not doing what their heart is calling them to do.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, so many things that convicted me along the way that made me say enough is enough. But I'll say this: what got me the confidence to do marketing was I was given opportunities, right? And so first, let me say it differently. Actually, I just told people I liked it, right? And I think that's what's so actually so crazy about it. When I really got like the very, 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 very first thing that gave me a marketing opportunity, I read a book. I said, "This is fascinating. This sounds really cool. I could try this," and I started trying it. Right? It felt low risk because I knew I didn't want to be a marketer. I wanted to be a songwriter and producer. So I thought it was I saw it as low risk for me because my passion, my purpose at the time, right, was all about me making music. So I did this thing to help my career that I thought I needed to do, and I did it with no risk, no fear, because I just jumped in and did it. Then I did it again, then I did it again, then I did it again. And essentially I'm getting reps at this thing to build my career. So I'm managing my, my MySpace page, and I'm putting my music up, and I'm doing all this stuff, getting a logo made, right? I'm doing marketing style activities to grow my main thing. And eventually I start building more of a name in marketing because I'm willing to do it. And I think that some of that, I think, is that's kind of the problem, is that we elevate the main dream so high that we do so little because we're afraid of every song not being great, every video not being great. And we're wanting to use other things so willingly because we don't care that much about them. So we get better at those faster. But I think it hit me when I started volunteering to help buddies of mine with their marketing because I believed in them. And then people started knowing me as like a business guy. Like, hey, yo, man, yeah, call BJ, he can help you with what you're doing. Because, once again, that's what people experienced me as, because I kept letting them experiencing me that way. And eventually I got a job doing marketing. I was doing sales, for a second, just to pay the bills. And I enjoyed the marketing thought process more naturally, got a marketing position in the company. And then when I was trying to get more money to take care of myself and my wife, I ended up getting a marketing job. And that marketing job just threw me into so many situations that my confidence grew because I was in the trenches doing the work. And I think that that's kind of the tension about the dream, is I wasn't doing the work. But the more I got known for marketing, someone said, would you speak about marketing? Oh, I knew I wanted to be a speaker. But someone said, will you speak to this group about this or speak? And I was like, yeah, I'll tell this group something and I'll talk. And I started just leveraging my opportunities to speak when they came. And I took them really seriously. I was very proud of them. And I started to say, like, okay, this wasn't just a desire. I got to do it and I loved it. I said, okay, this truly is what I enjoy. But it really wasn't until I had to live with a decade of me investing in the thing I didn't really care as much about, and then see myself progress to this height, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, when I tell people out loud that I work with Dave Ramsey, Tony Robbins, and Oprah Winfrey on a project, even I still feel shocked. I'm like, I did what? And it's like, how? I put in the time. Like, oh my gosh, I put in 10 years organically to get myself in positions like these. And what would happen if I gave myself 10 years to do the thing I actually want to do? What's possible? So I think that's been a part of it too. It's almost just a little bit of the, I guess regret could be it. I wouldn't even say that. Like, leveraging my regret as a motivator. Like, man, I can't let another 10 years go by. Life's too short. I think COVID definitely helped with that as well. But I would say some of it is just saying, do you have enough going on in my heart to finally convict myself that I'd rather die trying? I know this. I know it's like kind of a morbid take, but it's true. I feel like I had enough happen around me and said, okay, I don't care if I don't ever achieve the same level of success. I don't care, but I cannot. I keep doing this. I can't keep giving so much of myself in this one area while disregarding this other part of who I am. And so I think it was a bit of a kick in the butt. But also it's like, if you were that successful in another area without really that being your core passion, what would happen if you just gave the same effort and attention and consistency to this thing you want to do? What's possible? And I think you can do enough. So, and I think that was it too. Like I've seen about a bit of who I am and how I work, and I believe in myself enough to know that if I'm willing to give myself a chance, I can experience that success again.
And I'm sure you've heard of the quote that Jim Carrey has told about his father. It's just like, if you can fail doing it something that you don't like, you might as well give it a try with something that you do like. And I'm loving what you're bringing out on just saying, I literally you see people, especially, older generations, give 30 years, 20 years to jobs that they just need to put food on the table. And they can't stand it. But at the end of that time, when they try to really do something that they like and they don't understand it, or they don't give themselves the time to get better at it. And I feel like that's something that, I spent 8 years teaching physical education. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I know I've been told I'm a great, awesome PE teacher. And I don't take that for granted. I love all of my kids, and I love the concept of being able to bring joy and understanding to children through physical activity. But this is why I had to make my own pivot as well, to say, well, if I can put forth that much effort and time and be good in this particular area, and I don't give a year, like I'm still in year 1 of my pivot. I don't even give a full year into that, then I'm doing myself a disservice. And you know what? Honestly, COVID brought that out. COVID made it really real for me, because I was like, I could catch COVID and die. No disrespect for the people who passed, but if the deciding factor can be a random virus that can just take me out, I'd rather go out with people being able to say she tried to do whatever she wanted to do.
Yes, Abby. I lost an uncle to COVID in August 2020. I had a childhood friend of mine went to school with me, my wife, and how we were kindergarten to 8th grade for me, and kindergarten to high school with my wife. Incredibly physically active, like made his money as a beach volleyball player, like in weekend tournaments. Died of cancer, at age 35. And it was like, what illusion. And my uncle had made the most money he ever made in 2019. He had finally crossed 7 figures, and he's not here to enjoy that work. And my friend's not here to, enjoy the rest of his life. And it's like, my mortality I'm much more aware of my mortality. And I'm just like, okay, you owe it to yourself to give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance. And I think that's really a big part of what, let me say it now. Have I ever been affirmed for speaking publicly? Yes. Ever? Yes. Have you ever been affirmed for creative abilities? Sure. But there's still something that has to take place to say, I'm willing to give myself a chance and to pick myself to be the one that does it. And so I always make a joke. So, anybody listening, if you've ever heard the song Yeah by Usher, right? If you haven't, I don't know how, but maybe you haven't. But let's just take that melody for a second, right? Do 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 do, and repeat that for 3 minutes. That is the song. That somebody made that and said, I've got a hit on my hands. I've got a hit, a global hit, off of what's probably like 6 or 7 musical notes, repetitiously played for 3.5 minutes. I'm not trying to disrespect Little John and the people who produced that record. What I'm saying is creative confidence has a lot to do with success. You just believing what you did is good actually helps other people often believe it's good. He made that record and then said, I got a hit. Somebody said, let me hear it. He said, trust me. And he played it. And he probably was selling it and dancing around and all into it. And they started believing. They felt the energy he felt. Like sometimes belief is contagious. And I think that so sometimes it is you got to believe. Now, you might say, well, Kevin, what about those people who go on American Idol and they can't sing? And they embarrass themselves. They also get the joy of no regrets. They also get the joy of being like, hey, I tried. It wasn't for me. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But I got to try. And I think that there's actually a study done years and years ago about the most commonly shared regrets or thoughts among the dying. And almost all of them talked about they wish they would have spent more time with people and more time taking risks and following dreams. And I want to make sure that's true for me, that I can look back and say I gave it a go. Now, again, we can still put all the same principles into practice, like hard work and, getting a coach and getting consultants and training. And I'm not saying we can just we don't put effort in, but I'm saying that's the point. With that effort and all that extra attention and training and help, just failing is actually fairly unlikely for most of us.
My next question I'm going to ask you is, what are you doing now in terms of your speaking? How are you getting those reps in, or if you are involved in any other courses? And it's a two-part question as well. Is when is enough with the courses? Because I know I course myself out. And I spent, a grip on it, just trying to learn the behind the scenes instead of actually putting things into practice. But what are some of the things that you were doing to build that muscle and to put forth that effort?
Yeah. I would say one, first of all, I'm still doing marketing. And now from a healthy place, I enjoy marketing more because I'm not doing it to hide. I'm doing it to serve while also investing in myself. So I want to be clear and say, my love for marketing actually is getting stronger because I'm doing it from a healthy place. I'm not doing it from fear. I'm doing it from a service while also investing in my own dreams, and that's going great. But with that being said, to invest in my speaking, I did hire a coach. I hired two coaches since I started. I hired a coach in 2020 to help me start developing what I want to talk about and work on my presentation skills and work on my speech writing skills. And then last year, I hired a speech pathologist to help me figure out how to articulate words more. Abby is very kind, but Abby got to sit through 2 workshops with me, and Abby knows if I'm not careful, I can be almost inaudible, unintelligible, because I get so excited that I'll talk so fast, you won't be able to understand me. And I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want anyone to say, I can't understand what he's saying. So I hired a speech pathologist, and we worked together for about 3 months to work on what's going on with me to help me become more clear when I articulate my words. And I've books that I've read on speech writing. I tried my best though to not go too crazy just yet, mainly because I want to try to apply what I'm learning enough to see the progress I want to see before I go too crazy. The other thing I'm saying is I'm saying yes to a lot of things I would not say yes to in 5 years. I know that. I'm just being very transparent. I'm saying yes to some things that are either free. I'm saying yes to some things that are cheap. And here's why. Kevin, as a marketer, and I'm not trying to say I am a black belt, but let's just use the belt analogy from karate, right? I've been doing marketing or sales as a full-time profession since 2009 in various iterations. Well, All right, so that is well over a decade of experience. I'm paid well for my decades of experience in this area. As a speaker, I am here. I cannot command the same fees, and I shouldn't just yet. Now, I don't need to lowball myself. I don't need to embarrass myself. But what I'm saying is, I'm willing to own that I can be in stage 1 in one area and stage 5 in another. So my stage 1 services cost stage 1 prices, and my stage 5 services cost stage 5 prices. And so I'm also giving myself permission to say, it's okay to assume the role of beginner in this area. So I'm going to be very transparent with everybody listening. It is not to brag. I'm just being very real. I can charge $15,000 a day to come into my company and lead a strategic planning session on marketing. And I can only charge $1,000 or less, really, to speak. It's like, what? Aren't you speaking in that same room? Yes. The context, because of my experiences, shifts everything. And so I'm going to have to be okay with being a white belt down here and working my way up. I've done it before, I can do it again. So I think that's what I'd say there. Now, how do I know enough is enough? This is where I actually do recommend people get coaches and consultants out the gate. Here's why. If you're not going to watch first of all, you have to know yourself. Are you going to finish the course? Are you a course finisher? Are you not? If you're not, if you're going to be a digital dust collector from your stuff, then don't buy it. Don't buy it. Now, I'll be honest. I collect digital dust on, but I also treat online courses like books. I have no problem opening up a course now and going straight to the module I care about, watching that module, and then going back when I want to go. I'm trying to get the point of information fast. But I have to be okay with that reality and saying to myself, hey, what am I really here to do? What am I really here to get? How's this all supposed to work? But a coach helps you do that faster. So I had a coach, her name is Sally Zimney, and she was one of my first year coaches. And I went through a program with her, was like more of a mastermind, and she laid out literally a spreadsheet of what's required to launch a speaking business. And I have a checklist. And I'm not trying to do anything outside of the checklist. Just stick to the checklist to launch a speaking business. And I do the same thing for my clients when it comes to marketing or personal branding or building your business. I try to give you exactly what you need. So sometimes hiring that person speeds it up. Happened when I got a private lessons for instruments. My teacher could tell me exactly what I need to know. So I think sometimes finding your definition of done might require some money, but focus that too. Like, instead of trying to just be a knowledge hoarder, you need to be focused on just building your definition of done. I even have a sheet I've made for myself when I have a new idea. And I said to myself, I cannot launch an idea until this page is complete. These 3 or 4 pages are written out. But I don't need to do anything beyond these 3 or 4 pages either. Once these pages are done, I can launch an idea. And that's my definition of done. Because I know I'll keep extending it otherwise. And it covers core things I think I need to understand to launch it. And anything more than that, I don't need it. And
listen, I want to thank you for the time that you spent with us thus far. I think I have 2 more things to ask of you. The first thing I'm going to ask is in relation to your speaking career, as you gave us the comparison for the white belt and the black belt. When it comes to your speaking career, what are you speaking about? Because in my mind, I'm like, well, you're a master marketer. Naturally, in my mind, I'm like, well, you just speak about marketing. You get the best of both worlds, something that you're very knowledgeable about, and you get to engage in speaking activities. But from listening to you, you may be speaking about something different. So I'd like to know more about that.
Well, first of all, thank you. I don't think anybody had me ask that question before. Now I'm going to give the answer very directly, but I'm going to give a macro view on what's going on. All right, because I think I can be a case study along with my fellow unicorns in this conversation. Me personally, what I'm going to be speaking about is really about how people bring the best out of their ideas, their careers, and themselves. That's what I'm talking about. At a high level, that's my goal. I want to help people discover their purpose so they can actually experience the joy that comes from serving other people using their passions and their gifting. And now that's because I believe, this is a true thing within myself, for my story, I believe that our professional ambition is used to actually make other people's lives better, but also to transform ourselves personally, right? Your professional ambition can be the soil for your personal transformation. And so in my life, for example, I struggled financially growing up. My mom took care of me as a single parent, me and my brother. And so earning more money was a big deal for me because I wanted to make sure I could provide a better life for my family at some point. And so I was very ambitious. I was reading books, doing all this kind of stuff. I had dreams, all this kind of stuff. But I really wasn't that great of a listener. Well, you have to be a better listener to be better in sales. And that skill of being a better listener in sales makes you a better listener at home. That skill of negotiating at work makes you better at negotiation at home. So I think there's a lot of transferable skills that being ambitious at work helps you do. But I want to see people live their life to the fullest. I want people to die empty. I want people to do exactly what you and I talked about in this conversation. And you say, well, where's marketing in that? Marketing is a tool for that, right? What is Abby doing to all of us right now through the podcast? She's helping us, but she's also marketing herself. She's marketing the things she's creating. She's going to, when her next course comes out, which is going to come out, right? I'm already speaking it to you. When her course comes out, she's going to come on this same podcast and say, hey, everybody, I have a course to help you do X, Y, and Z, right? Well, why? Because marketing is how she gets to communicate her value to the world. So she's not just developing her gifts in isolation. She's developing these gifts to share them with us, to use her abilities to help make people's lives better, to help your business have a better video, or help you launch your course, or help you figure out YouTube, or help you be a better teacher. And to me, I want marketing to be a tool I give you. It is not the only tool you need. And now, if that's the only tool you want, that's fine. But I see marketing as a tool to say, okay, hey, I want to help you reach the people that you want to help and that you are best set up to serve. But I also know there are other things in your way that could be preventing you from bringing the most out of yourself. And I want to help you do that. And so it's a little bit of a macro thing at a bigger level. But if I look at my pillars, marketing and business are just the first pillars that I'm laying out in the world to help people with. But I have more to give. And I'd say, you know what? I'm okay with people seeing that over time. So I might still get invited to speak on business, but when I do, I'm going to integrate an element of humanity into it because that's how I think. And more importantly, that's what I'm really here to do, is help people bring the best out of themselves and their ideas to serve themselves, to help others, but also
I love that answer. I love that answer. And that sheds more light on the fact that you don't have to abandon the things that you've done or the skills that you've honed and used or where you've worked in the past, and all of that stuff can be super relatable into what you continue to harvest out of your life and what you present to the world. So I love that answer. The next thing I'm going to ask, that's right.
Nothing is wasted.
Absolutely.
Nothing is wasted.
Yeah, you've given us so much to consider and to implement into our lives, but I am still going to ask you for 3 tips that people can take away and implement same day or next day. You can take it in whatever avenue that you want, be it them in, engaging, enriching their lives or marketing tips. It doesn't matter. What are 3 actionable tips that people can utilize immediately?
I would say 1, practice learning from others. And I say practice because it is, it's weird. Like this podcast, you could take some things from this, but I heard someone say this recently. They said, don't write down what I say, write down the insights that come to you as a result of me speaking. Right. And I think for all of us, everybody listening to this podcast is a very smart, capable person full of hopes and dreams and gifts that will impact the world. And so, but I'm hoping I can give you one way to avoid a blind spot or a pitfall that could have come your way. And so I think, first of all, we have to practice that. Now, I didn't say books because as much as I love books, you may not like reading. But I think a podcast is just as powerful. And so I think this is all about practicing learning because it accelerates our progress. And this leads me to my second tip. Proactively deepen your self-awareness. And the reason why is right now you are your greatest asset, but you are also your greatest liability. And your ability to navigate self is what's going to be what ultimately affects your success. I understand that there are sociological systems that like glass ceilings and systems that hurt marginalized populations. I mean, I know that's real. I don't question that for 1 second. But if you can't navigate self, the system won't matter. Right? So the last thing I want you to do is, I don't want you to be the biggest barrier in your own way. And for most of us, we are the biggest barrier in our own way. Right? I just told you all how my fear took me on a 10-year detour toward being a speaker and writer. Now, I know the detour will be used. Nothing is wasted. Right? However, I can't say it was necessary because I don't know. I made that barrier for myself. I told myself, you want to speak? Well, you're not qualified to speak. Why? Because I said so. So what do I do to do that? Here's this artificial list of things to go do to be qualified as a speaker. I made up a list and I made myself jump through hoops that I created. And so why did I do that? Well, there's a lot of things. And so I think the key thing is self-awareness. And here's another reason why that matters. What is the one thing we're all guaranteed to experience on our journeys? Uncertainty. So the only thing we can be certain of is how we, as creatives and as unicorns, navigate uncertainty. So your mastery of you is your greatest asset as you step into everything you're doing. So I'd say that's probably number 2. And then for number 3, I would say to come up with your own definition of success. Because I don't want you to think that your end game has to be my end game. But you have to know why you want it. And I'm not saying about money. I'm saying no, whatever it is. Just because otherwise you're trying to play a game with someone else's scoreboard. And then you're disappointed when you feel like you're losing. And it's like, well, you're not really losing. You just haven't put yourself in the game you're supposed to be playing. And I'm not even trying to be inspirational. I just think that this is, even as a marketer, the first time I walk into an organization, I do and I say, okay, what are the metrics of success? What are the metrics of success? Well, we want to grow revenue and we want to. I'm like, well, time out. What's the most important one? They're all important. No, they're not. You got to pick one. Because picking your number one metric changes the strategy. We don't have to do all the things, right? The minute Abby and I get our courses online, which we're both going to do one day, we're holding ourselves accountable to this. I'm saying publicly so people come back to this podcast in 6 months and say, where's your courses, Kevin? Where's your course, Abby? But once we launch a course, our metric's going to probably shift from how many people can I get to find my stuff online to how many people can I get to buy my course. Because if I get more course sales, I have the economics to keep doing this podcast for free as long as I want to. Right? The metric doesn't shift. It shifts. And I think that it's all the game you want to play. So in your business and in your life, come up with your own definition of success so that you can design your strategy around what's true to you, around what you actually want to do and need to do to achieve what you want. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself pursuing all kinds of things that you may not want to do, but you'll feel required to do so.
Listen, I'll be listening to this podcast over and over again because those are some powerful points. And I want to thank you once again for your time and also your journey. What I'd like you to do right now is to share all of the places and spaces that people can interact and follow you and support you as you continue to provide value to the world. Where can we look you up?
Yeah. Okay. So there's three things come to mind. You can just go visit, visit me online. My website's kevinbjennings.com. You can also call me or text me. And that's at 615-455-3399. That's 615-455-3399. And I am doing something to help more people practice learning. I am giving free books away. So if you go to booksforfree.me, I'm giving away free books to help people who maybe have more ambition than they do have access. I want to make sure that we together can leverage the wisdom of others to accelerate our careers and accelerate our ideas.
Well, thank you. I can't thank you enough for your time. I look forward to hearing all of the positive feedback and how people were able to implement the things that you discussed with us today. And for all of our listeners, thank you once again. If you're getting value, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment below. And if you are a unicorn and you know anybody else, I'd love to have a conversation with them. So feel free to comment or DM me so that we can keep these conversations going. And until next time, we will see you.